Hey, Long Beach, it's Jerlene and I'm live. Okay, it's been a long time since I've done this, so please forgive me if I'm a little off, but I am not alone. So y'all won't even notice me being here. So it's Jerlene here to engage, inform, and hopefully inspire. Today, the conversation is on no on JB. Okay, I want y'all to understand this is a hard no for me. Okay, so this conversation is only about no for JB. But if you're watching, you are more than welcome to drop your thoughts and comments in the line. I'm going to be bringing some guests in. I'm going to do a very simple introduction to each person because they're going to actually introduce themselves once they're in. But again, welcome everybody. It's great to if you're watching me, it's great to be seen and looking for the dialogue. All right, so today joining in this conversation, it is Mr. Herman Long. I'm bringing him into the stage. Herman Long is a former deputy director of the Civil Service Department. He served for 11 years. We are pulling in Miss Robin Gordon Peterson. Miss Robin Gordon Peterson, her resume is way too long for me to even say. She is a current commissioner on the Civil Service Commission, right? Y'all just let me tell you, this is a dynamic person. She's a former or retired Long Beach Transit COO, was with Long Beach Transit for 25 years. Did I get that right? Miss Robin? And Miss Caprice McDonald, bringing her into the stage. Miss Caprice is currently an employee of the city of Long Beach. She is the Employment Services Officer for the Civil Service Commission. She's been with the commission for 23 years, so she's bringing some knowledge to the table. She's been with the city of Long Beach for 33 years. And then we got our neighborhood rebel rouser, Ian Patton, who needs no introductions. He's actually in transit right now, so we're going to see as long as he's got signal, he'll be able to connect with the conversation. He is what is the president of the Long Beach Reform Coalition? Did I get that right, Ian? Got that right? Okay, he's he's kind of, hopefully he can hear me. We have several folks online with us, are co-authors of the argument against. You'll learn more about that in just a moment. But what I want to do, I'm going to start with Mr. Herman Long. Let me make sure everybody's unmuted. Mr. Long, can you just give a brief welcome folks and let them know who you are so that they know who they are getting information from?
Okay, I'm a long-term resident. I went through the school system here in Long Beach. Although I was the deputy director for 11 years, I was actually with the city for 33 years, all in the Civil Service Department, in which I worked from a beginner all the way up to deputy director. So I've had budget experience, administrative experience, and during those 11 years, I supervised the certification of qualified candidates to user departments, which was quite a challenge. Thank you.
All right. Can we go ahead and move to Miss Robin?
Thank you for having me, Jerlene. Robin Gordon Peterson. I've been a resident of the Long Beach community for well over 58 years. I went through the school system, starting with Roosevelt Junior High School, and completed my master's degree actually at Cal State Dominguez. So I'm a product of Long Beach, even though I'm from the East. I spent 25 years at Long Beach Transit. I retired as their chief operating officer, but just so you know, I applied for the job that I received. No one gave it to me, and I worked my way up through the company. I currently serve as the president of the Civil Service Commission, and I also serve as the personnel commissioner for Long Beach City College. So I am well abreast of the merit system and the value that it brings to our community and the fairness and the equity. Thank you, Jerlene.
Go ahead, Miss Caprice, introduce yourself.
Yes, on the ballot measure, I'm as Brazella C. McDonald. I do go by Caprice. I'm born and raised in Long Beach. Like Robin, I applied for every job that I had. I've been with the city of Long Beach for 33 years plus. I've been in the Civil Service Department for close to 24 years, 23 plus years. And I started entry level as a clerk typist and worked my way up every single step. I had no connections. I had to achieve everything that I've gotten. I had no handout. So I really love Long Beach. Born and raised, I think Long Beach is a great city to work for. A lot of opportunities, and I really would hate to see that our hiring system becomes corrupted because it's going to affect the livelihoods of the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. We've lost visual of Ian, but like I said, Ian, he doesn't need any introduction. Ian, if you are able to pop in, just let me know, and we will go ahead and bring you in. So right now, you are all in agreement with no on JB.
Correct.
Can let's start out. What is JB? What is JB? In any of you, what is it?
You know what? I will start. It is a power play from the city manager. It is a strategic power play that has started from the 60s, way back. So, at a time when the hiring system did not want brown people, did not want women, did not want overweight people, the power struggle goes way back. And fast forward today, those that are trying to grab the power may look a little different. But here we are today trying to continue on what the folks that were openly discriminating, trying to take hiring oversight. Today, we have people still trying to continue on until, but luckily it's in the voters' hands, and the voters are going to have the final say on whether or not we're going to transfer the power and the oversight and get rid of checks and balances, because it's basically the city manager convincing the mayor that everything's good now. No checks and balances are needed. We can manage the rules. We can oversee ourselves. In fact, after George Floyd incident, he put out an email to all the Black employees and said, "Hey, let's do a photo op and show everyone how great we are, because we got
Okay.
it all together." But of course, he got pushed back on that. So
All right. So
that's
Caprice jumped right on in. She jumped right on in. I'm gonna go back just a little bit. So I think you were ready. You weren't holding any punches right away. So according to like what I'm looking at right now, I can, I need to use reading glasses, y'all. So JB is going to be is a measure that's on the ballot for November 5th. The election is coming up. It is specific to Long Beach. And the general part of it, it is calling for the removal of the Civil Service Commission. So this, and before I even, and I'm gonna read this, is really bland, but then I'm gonna go to Robin because I have some specific questions for Robin. Actually, Robin or Herman. Okay, so it's the general, like I said, is to remove the Civil Service Commission. So this is what it says in the ballot book. Shall the measure amending the city's charter to combine the civil service and human resources department into one unified department to manage all employee recruitment, hiring, certifications, and establish an independent civil service employee rights and appeals commission to resolve complaints regarding civil service rules, to adjudicate classified employee disciplinary appeals, and to implement classified hiring preferences of Long Beach residents, students from local colleges, universities, current employees, and certain internships, apprentices be adopted. Okay. Civil Service, Human Resources Department. What is the Civil Service Commission, Robin? Or Herman?
Robin?
Mr. Long.
Robin, would you like to address that? You're the president.
Yes, the Civil Service Commission is similar to what we call a merit system. It is strictly there to ensure that there is hiring equality. There is no bias in the hiring system. And currently, our Civil Service Commission is just simply there to do one thing, that is to get employees that are interested in working assigned to a registry to be given to a department for hiring. It's just that simple. Civil service does not do the hiring, but what they do is they make certain that the jobs are posted and that qualified individuals get an opportunity for employment. Now, Herman, you've headed the department, so if I didn't explain it well, jump in.
Okay. Um, Very good. I'm concerned because Measure B really undermines the independence of the Civil Service Commission. If you look in the candidate statement book, um, it specifically says it delineates the commission's role. They will have some aspects of overseeing certain things, but it's the independence that the commission is losing. Right now, the Civil Service Commission gets its authority and its budget directly from the city council, not from the city manager. Um, this will reduce the oversight and the transparency of the process that Civil Service Commission performs right now. Uh, Employees will be uh, less willing to come forward with issues and complaints because they're challenging the city manager, since the human resources is one of his departments. Um, so the protections of the employees, but also the reason I'm involved is because I'm a citizen, I'm a taxpayer. I don't like going to the city council meetings and seeing the city council approve, as they did last week, $500,000 because of a employee issue. Uh, Back in March, there was a helicopter. I didn't know we had an African-American helicopter pilot. He sued the city. He got, I think it was a $500,000. We can't keep giving this money out and at the same time trying to increase sales taxes and other taxes to the citizens.
So a question. So how, with this suit and this employee that was awarded this money, where was or should have been the Civil Service Commission in this process?
I don't know if he ever came before the Civil Service Commission, but that's not an option I want employees to lose.
Okay.
The suit occurred several years ago. The payout was just in March. He retired.
So I heard Robin, when Robin was talking about the Civil Service Commission, she was talking about the front end, talking about how the Civil Service Commission helps to process or help people to become employees. And you just basically mentioned how the Civil Service Commission is there to help in time of need.
One other thing that I neglected to mention, and I'm so sorry to interject this. The Civil Service Commission is also there to hear and mitigate different issues that occur. For example, if a police officer is terminated from his position and he seeks redress, he can come before the Civil Service Commission and his case can be heard to see if it was, in fact, a lawful termination. The Civil Service Commission will then make the decision whether to reemploy the person or leave them terminated. So there is oversight that the Civil Service Commission provides to the city. Now, fire is also welcome to seek redress with the commission, but that's what we're there for. We're there to protect employee rights. When an employee feels that they've been wronged by their employer, they come before the commission for redress. And that was the part that's so important that I left out.
Okay, so with that, I got some mailers here. Okay. Nowhere on anything does it talk about the protection of employee rights. The one thing that has been happening is that I've been hearing is that the Civil Service Commission is moving too slow because of the Civil Service Commission. They're not able to hire people fast enough. And you mentioned both police and fire. Police and fire have signed off on this. Explain that. Make that make sense.
Absolutely. And They're well within their right to say that they no longer want to come before the commission. They can seek redress elsewhere. That was part of what they did. Then one of the negotiations with the mayor, their union went to the mayor. They were all having meet and confers, and they basically would like to bypass the Civil Service Commission. And that was basically an agreement that they could seek redress outside of the commission. And so, yes, you're right. You're not seeing that in the mailers. And yes, they are supporting this referendum. Some, not all. Some.
Herman, when Mr. Long,
Can I interject something there?
Oh,
Yes.
that Ian, go ahead.
Can I interject something?
Yes.
I just wanted to add to that regarding the police and fire union. They actually gave $250,000 between the two of them to the mayor-controlled committee that is advocating for this and the other two ballot measures before these ballot measures were even set by the city council. And there were other potential ballot measures at the time. Point being, they didn't necessarily know or care what the contents of the ballot measures were going to be when they gave that money. Why would that be? Because that's the way government works in Long Beach. It is a pay-to-play quid pro quo system where you are expected to pony up for whatever the mayor's agenda is for ballot measures during off-year elections. And there's no limit to the contribution. So they can write checks for ballot measure committees that are $100,000, $150,000. So that's a big factor in what's going on here beyond whatever may be the contents of Measure JB.
Something
Back to the
that,
speed. I'm sorry.
This is what it reads on one of the ballot measures. Measure JB will help us rapidly hire police officers and firefighters we need to prevent crime, respond to emergencies, and protect businesses from theft. So prior to our call, what I did is I reached out to several former or retired Long Beach PD folks, management, and I asked them what did they think. And they said that this was false because in reality, you cannot fast track police or fire because they have to go through a specific, they have to be selected first of all. They have to go through the academy. Maybe one of you can explain, either Robin or any of you. Can you tell me what process does police have to go through just to be hired?
Okay. First of all, the Civil Service Department has been providing names of qualified police recruits since February of 2024 to the police department. I looked at the job announcement for police recruit, and what it stated on there was that the next police academy is tentatively scheduled for summer of 2025. You see the link there, the duration of time?
And
Long Beach only does an academy every 12, 18, 24 months. The cities of Los Angeles and the county of LA, they do academies more regularly. So we got Caprice doing recruiting, or someone in civil service recruiting, since February. The application period just closed, I believe it was September 27th. Those candidates that meet minimum qualifications are being sent over to the police department every week, or at least when there's an eligible list.
It's actually still open.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, when
When
they're sent over to the police department, once the civil service has screened them and they're sent over, what happens? What's the next step?
Okay. I have the job announcement here, Caprice. If you want to jump in, please feel free to do so.
So we've been continuously, and I can speak to that because the analysts.
So the question is, though, what's the next step after you've screened these applicants? What's the next step? You send them over to the police department, and then
Yeah.
how long does that take?
So it's probably roughly taking, depending on what exam process they're taking, because we expanded it where we give them multiple opportunities to take the test. If they don't qualify, maybe that test was too hard, maybe another test you can take. So once they're qualified, and this was an ask from the police department. So once those individuals qualify, it probably within a month, and we give those names to the police department. But meanwhile, we're continuously processing more names. And after that, they're in the hands of the police department. The police department will schedule them for an orientation. They will schedule them for a physical agility test. Then there's a psychological test and background, but they can't do the psychological or background until actually a job offer is made. But right now, as Herman mentioned, we have folks that are qualifying, and now the police department are going to have to find creative ways to keep them engaged, that they stick around, because
Okay.
yeah.
And what you did here, I think what you're looking for, Jerlene, is you also want to know how long does it take to do the background check. So this is what you're having. Even if civil service takes 60 days to get them the qualified list, the department still has to test them. Once they're tested and they're acceptable, there has to be a background check after they make that offer. That's our first engagement now. Now you've passed all of those things. Let's say that took 90 days. Now I have to make you an offer, because the law says, California says, I can't run a background check on you until I've made you a viable offer. Now, that's what takes the time, because you've got to remember, we're talking about someone that's going to have the potential to carry a firearm. We have to do, not civil service, but there has to be psychological testing. There has to be a background test. They need to know who these people are. That's where the boondoggle is. Now ask the city who they're using. Ask them, who are they using to do all of these different parts, the background checks? Because I would wonder, why is it taking so long? It takes at least 6 to 8 months. Caprice, you're there in the trenches. How long is it taking the city to do those background checks? Now, remember this, Jerlene, that's fire, harbor, and police, because they all have a litany of tests that they have to pass through. How long, Caprice? I don't want to exaggerate.
I don't have a number. All I know is, I do know for a fact, I just had a refuse operator. It took them a year to finish that background.
1 year. Okay.
And that was
they would have you think that the boondoggle was civil service.
Okay. So where is that holdup?
That was
at the department level.
Not in civil service, at the department level. So if you're listening now, and
if I may, Jerlene,
go ahead.
In my 11 years I was in civil service for over 33 years. 11 years, I was responsible for supervising the distribution of qualified candidates to the city departments. The city departments are supposed to make a selection within 90 working days. This is by civil service rule, approved by the city council. They were not held to that standard. They may go 4 or 5 months. And why do they do this? There are certain candidates they look for that are not at the top of the eligible list, the most qualified. They play a lot of games. I had to do a lot of internal fighting with department heads and division heads and bureau heads, because certain people that they wanted didn't score high enough. And they would sit on the eligible list until other candidates were taken, hoping that they could reach that golden nugget that they were looking to hire. That was a major part of my job.
So basically, the voter is being lied to, right? Basically, the voter, what does it say? Don't be deceived. So basically, the voter is being lied to, and this is being pushed. And one thing that we know, folks want to have those services. We want police, we want fire, we want to be served, and they're saying that this is going to correct that.
If I
No,
may, if
go
I
ahead.
may,
Go ahead.
in addition to public safety, there's been a lot of talk about from the mayor and city manager's comments that the reason they can't fix streets and potholes is because they don't have staffing. This is totally wrong. They have street maintenance supervisors on staff. They have a whole slew of maintenance assistants that do a lot of the labor. And if they don't have a civil service list, they have what they call non-career employees, temporary employees that can be brought in for emergency basis to handle certain services. Maintenance assistants, there's always people on the maintenance assistant non-career list that are looking to get their foot in the door. And the city just has not had the priority of fixing potholes. This is not a recent problem. This has been going on for decades.
Okay,
Thank
I don't
you.
know which one of y'all have the text message in that's set as a horn. Can you turn it off?
Please
Oh.
Someone
turn it off.
That might be my phone.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it was like a street vendor. It sounded like a street vendor.
I know,
My
I'm getting
apologies.
hungry now. I'm about to go outside and go get some corn. I know.
Okay, we shouldn't hear that anymore.
So
You know what,
a couple things
Jerlene?
that I've just heard in the conversation so far is that if folks vote yes on this, they risk the losing of employee protections that was touched on earlier. There's right away you were talking about that there was a conflict of interest if the city manager, because then how do you get how do you get redress, right? There's not an independent body.
Let me paint a picture.
Okay.
You cannot have the fox guarding the hen house. That's as simple as I can put it. You've got a city manager whom a human resources department reports to, and now the commission is going to be reporting to the human resources department. And all the recruitment, testing, and certification of qualified candidates will be done through human resources. If this is not the fox guarding the hen house, I don't know what is.
Okay.
Very simple.
So
now back to if you look at the flyer from the city, from the Yes on JB, they say we'll hire within 90 days. That's already in place right now. They're just not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not doing it. And where did they get that 90 days from? Right out of the civil service rules and regulations. They're not going to hire a firefighter, a police recruit, and most other positions in 90 days, especially protective services. They can hire maintenance assistants, clerical people, all the support personnel. Is providing they have a list, and we give them a list. So there's no reason for them not to hire. But like I said, they tend to wait and jog and monkey with the eligible list till they can get to the person they want to hire. Now, if there's no one on there they want to hire, they then tell the Civil Service Commission this list is no good, when in fact they have tons of qualified people on that list. It's a matter of making a choice and making a call. That's all it is.
Okay. So a couple things for folks that are watching. So JB, like I said, the general piece of this calls for the elimination of the Civil Service Commission. So the Civil Service Commission, for folks that don't know, we are in a what's called a charter city government. So our charter is like our constitution for how our government is supposed to function for us. So the commission is one of these items that's on the charter, and anything that is of a charter change, it has to go to the voters. So prior to this becoming a ballot measure, as Ian had shared, money had already been distributed to a campaign that's unsure of what it was actually going to say. So that was already happening. And this is not the first time this has happened, but anyway, the money was already exchanged, right? Let me just show something. Hold on, let me pull something up. I want to show folks something real quick. So let's see.
And while you're doing that, in
Okay,
2010, the voters rejected that measure
so
by 53%.
yes, I'm going to pull that up in just a moment as well. So this is
Okay.
the city charter. So when Mr. Long began, he was talking about who has the oversight and responsibilities. So in the city charter, I'll even drop a link for people who want to take the time to read this themselves. So the changing in this any charter amendments has to go to the voters. Oh, what I was about to say, supposedly folks did a survey, and the survey says that people don't want the Civil Service Commission. First of all, people don't even know what the Civil Service Commission is to even know if they want it or not, because they're not quite aware of its function. And I'm really hoping that people are taking the time to learn the function. But anyway, it talks about how this is an independent body. It talks about what its role and responsibilities are. So I'm actually going to drop this link. Let's see, I'm going to have to drop it. I'll drop the link into the Facebook feed. I'll probably have to do it afterwards so that people can go and look and see for themselves. And in that, they will understand that some of the stuff that they're being fed is not accurate. As Mr. Long was sharing, that there was a ballot measure in 2010, and in 2010 it was called Measure GG, Long Beach Civil Service Reform. It was defeated, and this is what's interesting. So I have to bring this up, y'all. Okay, exactly. I have to bring this up. So one of the major supporters of this item is the mayor of Long Beach. Okay, so this is where I find some contradiction. Is the mayor of Long Beach. The mayor, for those of us who are civically engaged and we pay attention to what's going on, there's leaders in our city that are revered. One of those leaders is Doris Topsy Elword.
Yes.
She's on is Doris Topsy Elword, which our mayor often speaks of and talks about who she was. And there's a center in North Long Beach named after her. Doris, an opponent, former Vice Mayor Doris Topsy Elword, she opposed this.
Yes.
In 2010. Okay.
That's
So
correct.
and one thing right now, I know we got 3 Black people over here and we got Ian. I mentioned that because some people would say that our color or race and ethnicity does not matter. In the society that we live in, the Civil Service Commission has actually helped to have protections for Black folks in employment, which is something that is low numbers right now in the city of Long Beach. So if y'all remember the framework of reconciliation and how the mayor said it was going to increase, people that look like this, this will stop that movement. So anyway, that was my little thing that I wanted to share. Mr. Long, in 2010, were you part of what was taking place in Caprice? You were around in 2010. How was it defeated?
It was
defeated by basically showing that employees are going to lose the basic rights that they have, how it undermines the Civil Service Commission's process, how it places, how it allows for donors and friends and relatives who may or may not have the proper training experience to get jobs ahead of other folks that do have that training. It was kind of defeated in the same way, except this time around, the mayor has thrown out a carrot. And that carrot is, he puts a lot of children and youngsters on his brochures and says, basically, he's appealing to the emotional side. Okay?
Yes.
Do you want your kids to get a job in the city of Long Beach? But what they don't tell you is that that preference that he's offering is never going to guarantee the longevity of these folks as long as the city is as messed up as it is managerially. I'm sorry, I have to say that, because one of the factors that is not being addressed, and I think a recent retired sergeant or somebody from the police department said this when he retired within the last couple of months. He says, you can't trust the system here. You can't trust his department. And trust and integrity and, all those types of things are what you have to have. And you simply cannot have trust, integrity, transparency, which the city speaks of every Tuesday, and honest, I say honest oversight, not just oversight, honest oversight. and credibility and fairness and equal access. You can't have that unless you have a body that's willing to say, stop, we're going to have these things. You can't count on the Human Resources Department to continue going in that direction.
Jerlene, if I may be heard, and then Caprice, I know you want to speak, so I don't want to step over you.
Let's each of you share your thoughts. We're gonna go ahead and start to wrap it up. Yet, if we need to do this again, and we want to pull in more people, we can do this. We can even do this where we pull in people to be part of a discussion and ask questions directly. Okay. So, but go ahead, Robin, and then Caprice.
So, Jerlene, first of all, I would appreciate if you would conduct another podcast. And the reason why is because civil service commissioners cannot be on this call altogether. It would be a violation of the Brown Act. There are many more commissioners that want to be heard. And I would appreciate if you would also allow them that forum. They have additional information. Joanne Garnica has a 6-year history, and it could be even longer history of serving on civil service, the commission itself. So I want you to know how she has tried to work. But this is what I want said for the
I have a question. I have a question real quick. There's 5 commissioners, correct?
Correct.
Are any of these 5 for this?
No, they're all in opposition. And what the city did, I'm going to make this very quick. The city dug up a civil service commissioner that had not completed her service, who now heads a major labor union, and they used her on their side. I requested to be a writer. I should have been the argument writer as the president of civil service. They excluded all of us. The only reason why Miss McDonald was selected is they didn't know who Basila was. She didn't put down Caprice, so she wouldn't have been selected either. But this is what I really want to get to this point. You made a good point when you brought up Mother Doris. Mother Doris was my mentor. I don't know how well Rex knew Mother Doris, but I knew her very well. And she mentored me and she guided me through my employment at Long Beach Transit. I want you to know that. She and Pastor Cheney, who are now passed, they mentored me. That's how I ended up at the top of the food chain at Long Beach Transit, from their mentoring and guidance. And don't let me forget Dale Clinton. She was a part of that too. And as a matter of fact, when I told Mother Clinton 3 weeks ago what their plan was, she almost fell out of her chair. She said, not again. We have to fight them again. So this is what I want you to know. You said in 2010, Measure Gigi failed. What I want you to know is that it failed, but I believe with my whole heart that there was still a concerted effort that was left there at the city that wanted civil services demise to still happen. And so those employees that should have been hired to support civil service, they were not hired. In 2008, now my numbers may be a little awry, so I hate to use numbers because I'm aging. I might forget a couple of them. But civil service had a full complement in 2008. Yet in 2024, they have less employees than 2008. And yet the city continued to grow. Their human resources department grew. All other departments grew. Why didn't civil service? Why would you allow why would you allow the very department that supports police, fire, harbor, and on and on and on? Why would you not give them the correct number of employees? Because you had an agenda. And that's what I can't get people to listen to. This didn't just happen. This was a concerted effort. And when the city manager came to me and my fellow commissioners, and he gave us a presentation, I'm sticking on this slide 18 because it chafes my hide. He said, oh, and when civil service no longer exists, I'm paraphrasing, I promise accountability. I promise we will hold those hiring managers and they will hire. Really?
Okay, what it so is
Really?
it
I've been
impossible?
paying
So
you
is it
all these years, and you couldn't have accountability from 2010 to 2024. Where was the accountability then? So now I got to continue to pay you a salary out of my tax dollars? Come on now. I just had to get that out. I'm
no,
now
I
stopped.
know. I just I the hypocrisy of it. And I just and I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna wrap this up. It talks about vote yes on Measure JB to make it easier for local residents, veteran students to secure high quality, close to home jobs with the city. It will modernize recruitment, blah, blah, blah. Again, I go back to who's supporting this, right? This is coming from someone who hired a staff member who hired someone from Texas to come to California to be part of his staff and used extra Measure A funds. That ain't local hiring. so those and this is happening within our local government. That so if folks, if you're watching this, don't be impressed by the pretty glossy. Don't be fooled by the beautiful faces of the children. Please take the time to look up information. It's there. It's a Google. It's a really good Google. But I'm gonna go to Ian. Ian, do you have any last words? And we're gonna let me see. Let me make sure we got our. Okay, so some of the three things that I think that we kind of touched on is risk of losing employee protections. So if you're an employee of the city of Long Beach and you live in the city of Long Beach and you are a registered voter and you voting yes on this, you risk losing your employee protections. Conflict of interest. This means that the body that was there to help facilitate integrity in the hiring process is going to be eliminated, which the conflict of interest is already real, folks. We ain't got time. We can have a whole nother conversation about that. Commission loses independence. It is very important that this commission is independent. That's why it was put in the charter in 19 something way before any of us on this call were born. Let's put it like that. 1907 people. This commission has been in existence for 1907. So not only and here's the thing, if there was processes within the commission that didn't work from 2010 to now, why didn't anybody work on them? Okay, Ian, 30 seconds.
I definitely have something I want to say, but I think Caprice wanted to go.
Okay, do you have any last words before we close out? Ian, any last words?
Just don't forget Caprice. But what I wanted to say is, first of all, I apologize for the fact that it just worked out that I had to be on I-15 right now and this horrible glare. So sorry about that. Because this is important, and I don't think folks really understand what a dramatic change to the city this is going to be when you have a payroll of 6,000 positions. Like, do you think the average resident realizes that the city of Long Beach has a payroll of 6,000 positions, a payroll of $1.5 billion? And it took a lot of digging in the budget for me to find that, because they don't just tell you off the top. And to have all that power amassed and controlled under the thumb of one city manager, under the thumb of one mayor, and all the structures to prevent graft, corruption, cronyism, nepotism, all those structures are removed. And so this becomes the Just Trust Us ballot measure. We're going to do all these wonderful things. How do you know? Just trust us. That's not a city I want to live in, because we all know how that's going to go. And even if it didn't go that way with the current administration, what about the next or the next after that? Because this is a change for the rest of the time. It's a permanent change. So that's number one. And number two, the reason I think they are more confident that they can get this passed this time as opposed to 2010 with Measure GG is because they have gotten much looser about how they handle the actual wording of the ballot itself. That wording is supposed to be a neutral, accurate description written by the city attorney, and that practice has fallen by the wayside, and it's now basically the city manager who writes that text. And I know that for a fact. I won't get into the details, but it's been going on, and it's going on with this ballot measure. And as a result, it's one of the most dishonestly worded ballot measures, misleading, I've ever seen. The voters just reading the summary on their ballot will think that they are just merging two departments, that it's completely innocent, that it's for efficiency, modernization, and they will have no idea that they are actually destroying the entire civil service protection structure. So that's why it's so important that you're doing this and that we have to get the word out.
Okay. Let's go. Robin, I'm gonna have you close out. Okay. Caprice, 30 seconds. Come on, 30 seconds.
You know what? I just want to tell you what I can say can give to the next meeting we have recording, because it is so important that the public hear from people that are not employees of civil service, because you folks you do not have to be here, and yet you showed up, and you're speaking to the public, because you're just residents. I'm an employee. So it's more important that the public is hearing it from you. Of course, I'm going to speak up because I work for civil service, but I think it was so much valuable, and I appreciate you all that is coming from individuals that you don't even work there anymore. You do not have to be here, but yet you showed up. So I just want to say thank you.
All right, Mr. Long, 30 seconds.
I said everything I want to say. I would appreciate if you would just announce the webpage for us on the poster.
I'm gonna
Thank you
pull
so
that
much.
up in just a moment.
And again, this is, as Ian said, you cannot unring the bell. When this happens, it's going to be detrimental to employees, but also to people like me who are taxpayers, who are tired of seeing this money being doled out by the city council with a blink of an eye. 500,000 here, 300,000 there, and then at the same time they're going to be asking for tax increases. But one thing I didn't cover was, as deputy director, I was the head in charge of two major layoffs in the city of Long Beach, which was historical. And people forget that the Independent Civil Service Commission calculates the layoff scores and determines who's going to lose their job. We cannot turn that over to human resources. And why? Because I dealt with departments that said, that's not the person I want to lay off. I want to lay off so-and-so who's not a good worker. And I'd go back and look at their job reviews, and I would say their personnel reviews, and I'd say, well, then why'd you rate them great and everything in the category? I said, no, it's based on the seniority in the classification, period. Thank you.
Ms. Robin, 30 seconds.
Okay, 30 seconds, and this is very clear. Jerlene, I was raised by a Pentecostal mother and father, and I've explained this to Rex, I've explained this to the council, and now I will explain it for the audience. A half-truth is a lie. A half-truth is a lie. And so you, public, are being lied to. And I am disheartened because of the lies. I don't mind if you want to change. I'm a change agent, but do it with the truth. And if you tell a half truth, you are only telling a lie.
Thank you all. I know we have gone over. If you're watching this, or you've watched this, or you watched a portion of it, it's all good. So even if you only watch a little bit of it, that's cool. Please share this with other people. It is, I think, 19 days until the election. The election has already started. Ballots are already out there. When you pull your ballot out, it is no on JB. So I'm gonna do a couple things real quick. Let me pull this up here. I wanted to make sure that people see this. In 2010, there was a ballot measure, GG, Long Beach Civil Service Reform. former vice mayor and matriarch Doris Topsy Over opposed the measure. So folks who know who she is and what she stood for and who she mentored and what she was about, that was significant, and it's significant now. So we definitely need to look at the history of things and be able to understand how we should be moving forward. Let me pull up this. As you see, there's a ticker going along the bottom, no on Measure JB. You can go there, you can get information. I'll drop relevant links into the social media feeds. Thank you all for your time. It's appreciated. Here, I want to pull this up just because
And we do know that this is also on the Trump agenda to dismantle civil service. He's going to do it on the federal level. If he's elected, it's in Project 25. It's clear. He stated it in his own words. I will gut civil service unless all of the people are loyal to me. I will only hire those people loyal to me. I got to tell you, that's what it is.
So, okay, again, one thing that I say all politics are local. So many of the things that are happening in our local, happening locally, is happening reflective and nationally. So again, I thank you all for your time. Please do not leave the call. And please do not leave the call, you all. So anyways, Jerlene Tatum, it's been a minute, but I'm here to engage, inform, inspire. I know the topic wasn't funny, but maybe you found something to laugh about. Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you soon, or you'll see me. Take care, folks.
Thank you so much.
Okay, don't leave, people.